The silence was louder than any royal statement, harsher than any palace warning, and far more revealing than any headline splashed across the front pages. While the world waited for King Charles to respond to what many saw as Prince Harry's most emotionally loaded demand yet, the king did something almost nobody expected. He said absolutely nothing. No carefully crafted message. No royal source rushing to defend the palace. No public plea to see his grandchildren. Nothing, and that silence has ignited a storm of speculation that is now spreading through royal circles faster than any official announcement ever could. Because this was never just about security. That is the detail many people are missing. On the surface, the issue appears straightforward. Reports suggested that Prince Harry made it clear that without guaranteed security arrangements, Archie and Lilibet would not be traveling to the United Kingdom. Framed that way, it sounds reasonable. Any parent wants their children protected. Any father would be expected to prioritize safety. But inside palace walls, where every word is dissected and every message carries layers of meaning, this was interpreted very differently. The moment security became linked to access to the king's grandchildren, the entire conversation changed. Suddenly, this was no longer a discussion about protection officers and travel logistics. It became something much bigger, something more emotional, something far more dangerous. The implication hanging over the palace was impossible to ignore. If security remained unresolved, Charles would remain separated from Archie and Lilibet. And if Charles wanted more time with his grandchildren, the pressure was now attached to a completely separate institutional dispute. That is where the tension exploded. Because King Charles is not simply a father. He is not simply a grandfather. He is the monarch. Every decision he makes carries consequences far beyond family feelings. And according to many royal observers, that reality placed him in an impossible position. Imagine the scene unfolding behind closed palace doors. Advisors reviewing reports. Senior figures weighing every possible response. Prince William undoubtedly watching developments closely. Every option carrying risks. Every move threatening consequences that could stretch far beyond the current reign. If Charles gave in, critics would argue that public pressure had successfully influenced institutional decisions. If he publicly rejected the demand, headlines around the world would paint him as the grandfather who chose royal protocol over his own grandchildren. Either choice risked permanent damage. So he chose the third option, silence, and that silence may have revealed more than any statement ever could. What makes this story even more fascinating is the question many royal commentators keep returning to. If security is truly the obstacle, why has Balmoral remained part of the conversation? Balmoral is not an ordinary residence. It is one of the most secure private estates associated with the royal family. Vast grounds, controlled access, permanent security infrastructure, a location designed for privacy and protection. For decades, it has hosted world leaders, prime ministers, diplomats, and members of the royal family away from public scrutiny. That reality has led some observers to ask a difficult question. If a private family visit could theoretically occur within the secure boundaries of Balmoral itself, then what exactly is preventing it? That question keeps surfacing because it shifts attention away from security and towards something else entirely. A deeper disagreement, a larger negotiation, a battle over precedent. Many analysts believe the real conflict is not about one visit or one summer gathering. They believe the larger issue concerns future arrangements, future status, and future expectations regarding security. In that interpretation, the dispute extends far beyond a single family reunion. It becomes a fight over principles that could affect future generations of the monarchy. And if that interpretation is correct, then Prince William's role becomes impossible to ignore. William is not thinking about next summer. William is thinking about the next 20 years. Every major institutional decision made today may become a precedent tomorrow. What is granted now may become expected later. What is agreed to under emotional circumstances could shape future royal policy long after current family tensions have faded. That is why many insiders believe Charles faces pressures from multiple directions simultaneously. The emotional pull of family, the institutional responsibilities of the crown, the expectations of his heir, and all of it unfolding while he continues managing a serious health battle. That final element changes everything, because time has quietly become the most powerful character in this entire story. King Charles continues treatment, public appearances continue, royal duties continue, But the reality nobody can escape is that time keeps moving forward regardless of negotiations, court battles, media narratives, or family disagreements. Archie is growing older. Lilibet is growing older. The years are moving, and every summer that passes becomes one that can never be reclaimed. That uncomfortable reality sits beneath every headline connected to this dispute, behind every security discussion, behind every palace briefing, behind every public statement, and every carefully maintained silence. At its core, this is not merely a royal controversy. It is a family story unfolding under the harshest spotlight on earth. A father and son, a grandfather and grandchildren, a monarchy trying to protect itself, and a clock that never stops ticking. The more people examine Charles's silence, the more significant it appears. Because perhaps the silence was never weakness. Perhaps it was never indecision. Perhaps it was the only move available to a king trapped between duty and family, between institution and emotion, between the future of the crown and the hope that one day the doors still left open might finally be walked through. For all the analysis, speculation, legal arguments, and royal maneuvering surrounding this story, the most uncomfortable truth remains the simplest one. None of the adults involved can stop time. Not Prince Harry, not King Charles, not Prince William, not Meghan, not palace advisors, not lawyers, not security committees. Time keeps moving whether the dispute is resolved or not. And that is what makes this entire situation feel so emotionally explosive. Because while commentators debate security arrangements and institutional precedents, the reality is that Archie and Lilibet are living their childhood right now. Childhood does not pause while adults negotiate. Memories are being formed every day. Relationships are either growing or fading every day. The opportunity to create those ordinary family moments that later become treasured memories is either being used or lost. And once those years are gone, they never come back. That is why many royal watchers believe King Charles continues refusing to slam the door shut despite everything that has happened over the past several years. Think about what he has already endured. The Oprah interview, the Netflix series, the memoir, endless allegations. Public criticism directed not only at the institution but at members of his family. Through all of it, Charles largely maintained the same approach. He absorbed the blows, he avoided public warfare, he resisted direct retaliation. Whether people agree with his decisions or not, the pattern has remained remarkably consistent. And perhaps that consistency explains the silence now. Because a public fight would create winners and losers. A public rejection would deepen divisions. A public concession would create a precedent many inside the institution reportedly fear. Silence allows something else to survive. Possibility. The possibility that one day a phone call gets answered differently. The possibility that one day pride gives way to reconciliation. The possibility that one day grandchildren run across the lawns of Balmoral without lawyers, negotiations, or media narratives standing between them and their grandfather. Yet even that possibility exists under a growing shadow. The king's health. No matter how carefully palace statements are worded, no matter how optimistic updates may sound, one fact remains unavoidable. Charles is not a young man beginning a reign. He is a monarch facing serious health challenges while carrying enormous responsibilities. Every public appearance is viewed through that lens. Every report about treatment attracts worldwide attention. Every discussion about the future of the monarchy quietly circles back to the same question nobody wants to ask aloud. How much time remains? That question transforms everything. Suddenly, the dispute stops looking like a battle over security and starts looking like a race against circumstances that nobody controls. And perhaps that is why this story continues to resonate so strongly with people far beyond royal circles, because most families understand some version of it. Estrangements happen, misunderstandings grow, pride hardens, old wounds refuse to heal. Years pass faster than anyone expects. Then one day people realize the time available for reconciliation is no longer unlimited. That realization often arrives too late. What makes this particular situation so fascinating is the contradiction at its center. Prince Harry has spoken more openly than almost anyone about loss. He has described the devastating impact of losing his mother. He has built much of his public identity around understanding grief, absence, and the permanent consequences of time running out. Those experiences clearly shaped him. Nobody doubts the pain was real. Yet critics argue that this is precisely why the current situation feels so difficult to understand. If anyone understands how quickly opportunities disappear, it should be Harry. If anyone understands how painful unfinished relationships can become, it should be Harry. And that contradiction continues fueling endless debate about what is really happening behind the scenes. Maybe the dispute truly is about security. Maybe it is about trust. Maybe it is about principles neither side feels able to abandon. Or maybe it has evolved into something much larger than the issue that originally started it. Whatever the answer may be, the result remains the same. The king stays silent. The children remain thousands of miles away. The questions keep multiplying. The speculation keeps growing. And another summer edges closer to becoming another missed opportunity. That is why Charles's silence may ultimately be remembered as more than a strategic decision. It may be remembered as the response of a man caught between his role as monarch and his role as grandfather, trying desperately not to make a choice that could permanently destroy whatever chance remains for reconciliation. The security dispute continues. The family divide continues. The unanswered questions continue. And somewhere beneath all of it sits the one reality nobody can negotiate with: delay, appeal, or overturn. Time, because every day this story remains unresolved, is another day that cannot be recovered. Every season that passes becomes part of history. Every opportunity postponed becomes an opportunity reduced. And regardless of who is right or wrong, regardless of which side eventually wins the argument, time will deliver its verdict long before the debate is finished.